morning, my little coffee beans, and welcome to Madeline's Life Management. In today's episode, I have a very, very fun kids story video. So these are actually my favorite videos to make because I think they're hysterical and I do rewatch them and just laugh hysterically at the memories. My first story is with a 2-year-old, maybe like 2.5, and I went in the morning and the air conditioning was out, so it was so hot. And at the time, he had a coat that looked like a firefighter, and it was his favorite, and he loved putting on his coat to go outside or go home, whatever the case was. And I walk in the morning and he ran up to me, Madeline, and he was wearing this coat and he hugged me and he was just dripping sweat. And I was like, oh, hun. I said, oh, I'm gonna have to take off your coat. And he went, no, Miss Madeline. And he was grabbing his coat and he was crying. And I'm not gonna lie, I was crying a little too as I took off his coat button by button and we hung it up together. And I talked about how he was sweating and that meant he was hot and he can wear some other play clothes, but it was just too hot in the classroom to wear a coat on top of everything. And so we had a great rest of the day. We hung out, we played, we had just a great time. So 8 hours later, we'd had the best day. We'd read stories, we'd played, we'd made slime. So anyway, so his mom walks in and he runs up and he stomps his foot and he goes, Madeline took my coat. And of course I ended up explaining, the situation to the mom, and she laughed and just thought it was hysterical. But I looked at her and I went, oh, you told on me. This next story is about a toddler that was about 18 months at the time. And we had this little book. We like to rotate all the books in every classroom. So we have just new books all the time to pique their interest and to really encourage just the love of literature and reading and knowledge and stories. So anyway, so we got this, I don't know, have you guys ever read Find a Better Way to Ask for a Cookie or something? Anyway, in the end, he says, please may I have a cookie? And she's like, of course. But through the whole thing, he tries all these different ways to get a cookie. Like he tries going on a tree and getting one with a fishing pole. He tries making his own out of paper and they're just not the same. He pretends he's an old cookie investigator and then his mustache falls off. But it's real cute. So anyway, so we just set out these books and this kiddo's parents come to pick him up and he's holding the book. And he's 18 months and he can say a few words, and one of them is snack. And so at the end of the day, there are snacks ready so that the kids have a good attitude on the way home. So anyway, so he is edging towards the door and he's got the book behind his back and he's kind of like edging, and then he goes, his parents go, what's behind your back? And he goes, snack, trying to distract them. So he tried to steal the little cardboard book from the classroom, and his parents informed me later that they ended up ordering that book online because he loved it so much he was ready to distract them with snack and then sneak it out of the room. Anyway, this is a story of when I was babysitting, and I don't often babysit, but these are 2 kiddos that I absolutely adore and I work with their sweet mother. And so I was like, yeah, of course, I'd love to babysit. So I'm at their house, and I think one son is 4 and the other is like 2. And they were falling asleep, and they wanted me to be in the room with them because they wanted to know I was there. And so anyway, so they're falling asleep, and I have my book. I'm sitting by the bed and I'm reading a story, like an adult story, not out loud, just in my head while I'm waiting for them to fall asleep. So anyway, so I hear the guy kind of saying, put sunscreen on my arm, put sunscreen on my face. So he's singing about the sunscreen. And every time he does it, he warms up in his hand and then he puts sunscreen on. And his little brother was sleeping by him and he goes, put sunscreen on so-and-so. He's putting sunscreen on. So then he goes, Madeline? And I went, yes. And he went, can I put sunscreen on you? And I thought, if this does keep him up, it'll only keep him up a few extra minutes. It'll be fine. So I was like, yeah, sure. So I'm sitting like this, reading a story. And he goes, put sunscreen on your legs, put sunscreen on your other legs. And I just keep reading because I don't want to distract him too much. So then he goes, put sunscreen on your arm. So he's putting it on my arm. And then he goes, other arm. So I go like this and I'm reading with one hand. Put sunscreen on Madeline's arm. And then he goes, put sunscreen on Madeline's face. So I kind of lean down while I'm still reading, and his hands feel really sweaty and wet. And I'm kind of confused because it's not hot in their home. And he's not really under heavy blankets. And so I kind of put my book down because he just spread his sweaty hands all over my face, and I'm looking at him, and he goes, put sunscreen on Madeline's face. And then I realized why it was wet. He was spitting into his hands to make the sunscreen. I got spit washed by a 4-year-old. Put sunscreen on Madeline's face. He was rubbing the spit in his hands before he put it on me. I got home, and of course I told his parents, and they laughed with me because it was hysterical. And then I got home and I told Blake, and literally I showered so well. But yeah, that's one of my all-time favorite kiddo stories right there. As I'm sure you guys already know, I sign. And that being said, I lost my voice one day, and I was in a classroom of 2-year-olds, and I sat in a circle, and I thought, what a wonderful opportunity to show these children other forms of communication. So I had a book, and instead of verbally reading it, I would sign each page. So I was sitting, and there were a few kids in a circle around me, and one of the kids was going like this. I think they were doing a dance. I think they thought that I was dancing to each page. And then I had another child going. I think he was trying to put a hex on me. So my attempt at opening the door to other cultures and different forms of communication did not go exactly as planned. So if you guys have ever worked with anyone under the age of 6, nap time is something quite prevalent in that age group. And with the toddler age group, what you want is for the toddlers to learn to lay down on their cot, and they don't have to sleep, they just have to be on their cot safely, which means not jumping up and down, and they can't disturb their friends, which would mean screaming or singing too loudly. We do encourage singing if it's soft. Anyway, that being said, one of the most precious little girls would stand up on her cot every nap time and point to all the other children who were not laying down nicely and silently and tell them what they were doing wrong. Now, mind you, she was standing on her cot, pointing dramatically and screaming at these children to lay down or quiet, which, by the way, the teachers in that room never yelled at the kids or pointed to be quiet or lay down. And I told her mom, and she was also baffled that this was occurring. So it's not like this is a normal thing. It's just in her head, she decided that she was now in charge and was going to take hold of the room and tell everyone to lay down or quiet, which, so as I'm sure any of you with children or that work with children know, kids are gross. They are disgusting, and they do gross and disgusting things about every day. So I'm telling this story because it shocked even me. So anyway, so we're sitting down, and we have a little baby walked into the room, and I had them on my lap, and everyone else in the room was about 2. And so this baby was maybe like 6 months old. So the baby had a little booger, and I asked one of the teachers to bring me a Kleenex so I could clean the child's nose. And this little 2-year-old walks up, and I think he's gonna like touch the baby's face or something, or point and talk about the baby. So I was ready to kind of protect the baby, but he was being very slow and gentle. And he stuck his finger up the baby's nose, and then before we could do anything about it, stuck it in his mouth. Oh, I'm having like a physical reaction. It was so gross. So kiddos also pick up more than you think. I was in a room with about 12 months to 18 months, so about a year to a year and a half. And an older brother came in to pick up a 1-year-old, and he had a hat. And I complimented him on his hat because you could tell he was very excited about it. He kept touching it, and he was looking in the mirror, looking at himself in it. So I said, "Oh, I love your hat, how exciting." So a few seconds later, one of the kiddos in the room comes over, and they had taken a baby hat off of a little toy doll, and they put it on top of their little bun that was on the top of their head, and they walked over to me, and I didn't notice them at first because I was talking to the brother, and I kept feeling a little yank on my pants, and I looked down, and the little girl has a little doll hat on top of her bun, and she is looking so proud. So of course we made a very big deal about her hat as well. 18-month-old room, the toddler room that I was hanging out in, and they discovered that I loved getting hugs. I thought, I always make a big deal. Oh, thank you so much for that hug. That was so sweet. That was such a kind, nice, gentle touch. You talk a lot about gentle touches. And anyway, so this kiddo just really, really loves bubbles. We dance with bubbles. We talk about the shape. We pop the bubbles. It's good, motor movement exercise, good mathematic exercise. We talk about the sphere and good cause and effect. When you pop the bubble, it bursts. This little kiddo, we just shut off the bubbles because, we were going on to the next thing, and it was time, I think, to clean up and get ready for lunch. And this little kiddo came over to me, it's a toddler age, so just kind of learning to walk and still a little unsteady, kind of falls on me and gives me a hug. Oh, thank you so much for that hug. And the little kid went, yeah, bubbles? Like, I give you a hug, now I expect bubbles. The exact same kid later on that day, I was sitting down and they went up, up, up. So I thought they maybe wanted me to hold them because they were kind of acting like it, and they kind of were mad about it, and they were going up, up, and I realized they wanted me to stand up. And I thought, oh wow, that's really advanced. So I stood up and they went, huh, and they darted under my legs and grabbed a toy that I was sitting on. So another young child in that same age group discovered that no meant they could not do whatever it was, and yes meant that they had permission and were able to do something safely. So there was a little ladder that we had someone come in and fix something in the ceiling. I think it was the air conditioner or a light, something. And so we were all watching. We were talking about what they were doing, why they were there, how they were going to fix it. And we also talked about how the kiddos were not allowed to touch the ladder. And it was a really good learning experience to be able to know that this is unacceptable and not safe, and then learn, what is acceptable and safe. Like, you can watch it, but you cannot touch it. You can look with your eyes and ask questions, but you're not allowed to put your foot up on the ladder because that's dangerous. It's not safe. You could fall and get hurt. So anyway, so this little kiddo pointed and went, no, and we're like, yeah, you're right, no. And then he went, no, and as we were agreeing with him, he started to put his foot up and went, yes. And because, he thought, oh, no, yes, he was going to trick us. He thought he was going to confuse us enough that if he said, no, yes, we would be like, oh, what? We're so confused. Of course you may go up there. We've been saying yes this whole time. So this last story is about a 2.5-year-old. And I got a call because a teacher was having a very, very rough time with a kiddo. And I walk into the room, and there are 2 classrooms, and there's like a bathroom in the middle, and the kid was running over to the other classroom going, na 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 boo boo, and then running back. And he saw me walking down the hall towards his classroom because it's all glass, and he ran into the bathroom real fast and sat down on the toilet. The lid was closed, pants were up, everything. So I walk in there and I go over and I'm like, hey, what you doing? What's going on? And he went, I'm going to the bathroom. And I went, okay, yep, that's great. Awesome job going potty. So there's another potty, and a little girl just finished going potty, and she went, I'm a big girl. And I went, yes, you are. Oh my goodness. And the little boy went, and I'm a big boy. And I said, well, of course you are. And big boys, they listen to their teachers. And he was sitting down, he went, I'm gonna do that later. So in closing, I would love for you to comment down below any funny kiddo stories you have, or funny stories in general. I'd love to read those and get to know y'all. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video.